a reasonable node. Oh, it's being recorded now. Okay, here we go. My name's Kate. I think my main point about the biggest thing I'm going to try and get across all day is kind of what Sonia alluded to, which is that it can feel really overwhelming to make these decisions. Like maybe you're about to graduate high school, maybe you're about to graduate college, maybe you're about to go to grad school or not go to grad school, maybe you're about, you're near some kind of management decision early in your career, and everything can feel very final, right? And I want to just talk through a lot of the cases where I either reversed decision or changed my mind or kept going or realized new things with kind of more learning that have meant that, yeah, I can be extremely happy where I am. I am extremely fulfilled at my company. My company is doing some really amazing things. But the highlight kind of my life is that for all values of me, 5 years ago, me would not have predicted where I was. And so that was true at 15, that was true at 20, that was true at 25, 30, like we just keep going. And so I think it is of value to always surprise yourself. Okay. So I was born in Pennsylvania, and my parents are, I'm going to move my little Zoom face so it's not over Pennsylvania anymore. I was born in Pennsylvania, and my parents were lecturers at a university. And so you can kind of imagine that maybe there was a path where I was going to end up in a sort of academic background. Okay, reasonable. That might have been a lot of my defaults. I went to undergrad at MIT, but interestingly, undergrad wasn't what I would really call the beginning of my adult life. I did not like high school. I would not, I could not go to high school any longer. So I sort of quit and became an exchange student first under sort of very sanctioned. There was the Rotary Club. They're willing to send you anywhere in the world for free for a year. You live with a host family. But then I kind of stayed, and I stayed extra. And I was in the Czech Republic, and it was amazing. I was fortunate to be able to placed in the Czech Republic because stepping back even further, I had trained as a fencer at the university where I grew up. And so I was able to kind of apply with a reason for the Czech Republic. Like the Czech Republic had just been invented as a country 25 years ago, right? It had been Czechoslovakia. It had been under kind of the larger USSR for the very long time, and it was just emerging. And so for one thing, nobody was really applying to go there. And for another thing, the people that were applying to go were sort of doing it as a plan B. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Some of the best fencers in the entire world have come from Eastern Europe. Like, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. Oh, interesting. You think the language is really hard. Yeah, okay. And it turns out the language is really hard. But language immersion is no problem. And that was one of my first cases, which has led to one of the themes in my life, which is that, yeah, you can absolutely move to a different country, learn a new language for a couple of years, gain fluency, gain that kind of immersion. But you can do it with languages. And you can also do it with domains. Okay, so you can have been formally trained. You can consider your immersion in your formal training topic, that is to say your college major. But then you can kind of immerse yourself progressively in different topics as you move along. So I was a material scientist, and then I think I can't really move my mouse here, but then down there in Singapore where it says civil engineer, first job, I was a material scientist, but I really wanted to live in Singapore. I really wanted to learn Mandarin, and I really wanted to be based sort of an hour and a half plane ride from a bunch of really awesome scuba diving and so on. So I took a civil engineering job and I picked it up. And I went to grad school. I came back to the United States. I was also a material scientist for a bit, but then I transitioned. That was at Berkeley. I did go to grad school at Berkeley for a couple of years. I finished my PhD there, but I wasn't satisfied. Like it wasn't it wasn't the right environment for me. And so I moved to Germany to be an inorganic chemist and attend grad school there for a couple of years. And that was fantastic because that was where I learned about this synchrotron spectroscopy that we mentioned earlier. And that was where I learned how this kind of new domain, right? So from material science to civil engineering to inorganic chemistry. And the further you take inorganic chemistry, the more it secretly becomes physics. And so I did a postdoc in physics in Japan, in Sendai at Tohoku University, which was an amazing experience. Was it a predictable experience? No, not really. And again, the theme of kind of every 5 years, it's unpredictable. I did last as a physicist for a while, but the lure of staying in San Francisco was pretty strong, and I became an AI researcher at a healthcare startup. And the way that I did that was I had been a physicist on magnetic materials. And so I had been a physicist where the research that I did was you shine these soft X-rays on magnetic materials and you learn about their electronic properties. And what is the purpose of electronic properties? Well, you'd want to use it in some kind of technology, right? And the most obvious technology is in like magnetic computer memory, right? And so I said, oh, well, so clearly I'm experienced in computer memory. I can therefore clearly start walking up the stack, walking up the protocols and saying, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to use this in sensors and actuators. And so magnetic materials can also be used in sensors and actuators. So I crept up a little, so to mechanical things. And once you're in sensors, then you can be in information streaming as from the sensors. So you can be streaming either the real-time state of the magnetic bit, so that's on or off, or 1 or 0. You can be streaming the real-time position of a magnetic actuator. And once you start streaming these diverse data streams, then you are starting to do sensor fusion. And sensor fusion is really at the root of all machine learning. And so that's kind of how I backwards doored myself into AI. And what was really cool about this startup was I was there for a couple of years and it was great. And the most important thing that we did was we were technology driven. We had this amazing AI and we were going to use this AI wherever they would pay us to use it. We had contracts with NASA specifically to instrument astronauts. So an astronaut is wearing an oxygen sensor. An astronaut is wearing a weight sensor, a heart rate sensor, then you would have virtual sensors like presence or absence of the screwdriver on their tool belt, right? And that sounds very abstract until you think, oh, okay. So when you synthesize all of that information, you can actually know, and you can have kind of a predicted ongoing confidence of whether this particular astronaut is fully equipped to do their maintenance walk of the Hubble Space Telescope today. Do they have enough oxygen in their tanks? Do they have enough oxygen in their blood? Like, is their body performing properly? Do they have the right tools they need? Do they have the time they need? And you can kind of say, oh, okay, so you can continue this spacewalk. From a business perspective, the problem with astronauts is it's not a huge market. And so what we did was, again, in this technology-driven way, we said, okay, we can use this AI. Who are the next most instrumented people? And now let's lower the altitude of our expectations, or sorry, not expectations, but audience. Let's lower the altitude of our audience and let's say hospital inpatients. And so we could use this same AI for monitoring the health and wellness and behavior, and if your nurse had visited, and if it's an elderly patient, if their adult children had visited recently, so you could get a sense of their social and emotional well-being. And I really began to find that more valuable. So the outputs felt more valuable to me than the inputs. So it was a very cool technology, but I was no longer interested in following the technology. I was interested in following what it was for. So the way that we phrase that in my current place is going after the why. right? So you can use the coolest technology in the world, but if it's not actually having any impact at scale, then on some level, why are you doing it, right? So on some level, you have to be using, so the pivot that I came to was that the pivot that I came to was that it was no longer the technology that mattered. You could use the simplest or the most sophisticated or the most expensive or the least expensive, as long as you were solving the right problems. And so that led me to Forward, where I currently am. And at Forward, I truly believe, and that's why I'm still here, I've been here 6 years now, that we are solving the right problems. And the mission that we're following is the world's best healthcare for 1 billion people for free. And with a North Star that's kind of that clear, you can really make some very large decisions with a lot more confidence. Because when you're doing a technology push, you're sort of always opportunistically looking for whatever market where would give you the next Department of Defense grant, or whatever market would give you the next kind of small opportunity. But there's not a vision for it other than, gosh, everyone should use this technology. It is so cool. Everyone should use this, really cool programming language. It's so cool. I stand behind now the realization that cool matters less. And what you're doing, as I say, is impact. So that walks through a bunch of the stars here. Does everyone remember this series? It was a book series like 10 years ago, and then it was a movie series like 5 years ago. And the whole point of the Divergent series is that at the age of 6, or a premise of the Divergent series, there's a whole bunch of stuff about war and youth violence that comes in the later books, but a premise of the Divergent series is that at the age of 16, you make one choice, and that is it. That is your only choice. You never get to make another choice. And that choice is what faction you go to, right? So you can be one of these people who believes that selflessness is important, or you can be one of those people that believes that bravery is important, or you can be one of these people that believes intelligence is important, and so on and so forth. And the running theme here is that that's kind of bunk, right? So you can, with time, and you shouldn't do it every day because that's an ADHD thing, but with years, you should and can ebb and flow in your priorities. You're in seasons of life where at sometimes, yeah, you know what, it's actually really important to work your butt off at work, learn every possible thing you can possibly learn, and be saying yes, leaning in, all those words. At different phases in your life, maybe you've got young kids at home, like I've got 2 young daughters, and maybe at those times you need to say, nope, I'm going to leave at 5 p.m. I am going to go to preschool pickup. I am going to still work at night if anyone on my team needs me, or if I need to get anything done, but I'm going to deeply and non-negotiably prioritize these other paths, these other threads. So, oh yeah, okay. Competition is for losers. Sonia, there weren't any questions, were there? Should I pause?
Yeah, I don't think there are any questions, but again, reminder, if you do have questions, place them in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and ask them to Kate throughout the entire presentation.
Perfect. Okay. So I'll just transition then. So after the every 5 years you're allowed to be a new you theme. Now a big one for me has always been competition is for losers. And there is another person who says that, and that's Peter Thiel, and I'm definitely not intending it in the same way he does, because what he means is that you need to, the way that you're going to found a unicorn of a business is you're going to find a market and create a market where people don't bother and compete with you until you're kind of already big enough not to be competed with. And so that was how PayPal got amazing, and so on and so forth. Another kind of pivot on that is disruption theory. That's fine. Those are company level theories. What I'm talking about is a personal level theory. So This maximize along unexpected axes. If you are just trying to, say you're applying to med school, right? And you are trying to have the best GPA. GPA is kind of asymptote around 4. Like some places have a scale of 5 and some places have like maybe you get special weights for taking different categories of class. But GPA is kind of asymptote for a while. So you are as you work harder and harder, the differential, the marginal returns are not there. Like you can get 100% A pluses on your report card, and it doesn't get you the kind of visibility that if you were generally good and generally smart, but also had the thing, right? And this has kind of become an observation in like college applications, which is that, yeah, okay, so you had 6 clubs. Oh, well, I had 7 clubs. And by the time it becomes this assortment, by the time it becomes this set, then you don't actually get 6 times the credit for being in one club really amazingly, or 7 times the credit for being in 7 clubs not amazingly. So you certainly, the difference between 7 and 6 is not there, even if the randomization in your head is very real. And it in fact costs you performance in those clubs. It costs you appreciation of those clubs. It costs you actually enjoying yourself, which is awful. Right. And so whether you're kind of sitting at this and the next life transition that's approaching you is, higher education. So it's grad school applications, or as I say, college applications, or whether it's just what do you want to do in your career? So you're an individual contributor right now and you want to be a manager. Great. So do you want to have 9 projects where you did kind of well, just because 9 is a good big number? Or do you want 2 projects that you truly nucleated and drove and end-to-end owned and pushed through yourself and showed versatility in your execution strategy or whatever? And the answer is, well, it depends. It depends on your workplace, but it would be great if your workplace also valued the idea that you could really go deep in some topics and really actually become an expert in maybe sequential topics, right? So that way you get breadth over time, because you can say, oh yes, well, 1 year ago me was an expert in this, 2 years ago me was an expert in this. And then you don't need to context switch day by day because that's sort of too randomizing. But the reality is just doing more is almost never how you scale, right? So you need to scale yourself by being pretty ruthless about your prioritization. And so if you find yourself saying, okay, my work is 10% too hard for me this week, I'll just work 10% harder. Okay, you should probably do that for a week just to, get through whatever rough patch it is. That's fine. But if you find yourself this week saying that, and next week saying, well, my work is once again 10% too hard for me, I'll just work 10% harder. Boy, there's not too many weeks in a row where you can do that before you're starting to burn out. So what you need to do is you need to recategorize all of your activities. You need to optimize for being in a place where you can take the agency of saying, this is a category of work that is not worth it for me to do. Should I, in fact, invest in what can I automate, delegate, render unnecessary, right? So this isn't just how can you do less work, but it's how can you do more uniquely valuable work. And so as you sort of go through whatever of adulthood I am qualified to talk about, it often manifests as work. But before that, it manifests as your choices, right? During secondary and higher education. So it manifests as, well, were you president of 6 things, or did you just do a lot of homework, or how did you kind of balance yourself? So I think the competition is for losers is a theme for me because I need to phrase it to myself in such a provocative way. I need to remind myself really intentionally a lot that a person doing one more number, like a count 1 higher than me in terms of number of projects where they're involved, that does not mean they're winning. In fact, we need to figure out where each of us is best suited. And then one of the things I like about working for Forward is, in fact, it is aligned, right? So it is aligned with the fact that, yes, right now the needs of the business are this, and someone needs to go deep and someone needs to go broad, but you can't both of you just try and compete on going broad, because we'll never get any focused delivery or focused execution out of it. So I have to remind myself of this a lot, but I find it a really valuable phrase. Another kind of way you can look at it, another kind of way you can look at steps in your life, is what do you really actually have to do versus what are you choosing to do, and what do you have the freedom to choose? Like, okay, so if anyone plays video games, then you start at the beginning of Elden Ring, for example, by doing prescribed stuff. You learn the game mechanics, right? Like, that's how games have to start, because you don't know what kind of thing to look for. You don't know kind of how trustworthy the NPCs are, whatever. But kind of as you get going, you can just go explore the lands between, right? You can seek the great runes or not. Draw your own parallels with life, right? So if in your life you have felt prescribed always to, I must go to this exact college, I must go to this exact grad school, med school, law school, whatever your deal was, then I must go to this exact profession, I must work for this exact, like, known, established Fortune 50 company, or not. Like, where does it speak to you to make your own choices here? Where does it speak to you to listen to the world as you go, right? So who are the people that are giving you good advice? Who are the people that are giving you advice where they're really just projecting on from themselves? And who are the people who are giving you the advice that is kind of tuned to you? And kind of learning what to listen to will help you make these better steps. One of the final, and I can't remember if this is the final or if this is the penultimate, one of my final ways that I kind of live is, indeed, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So this manifests in a bunch of ways. Many of them I'm going to talk about right now in terms of specifically professional execution, but they really have exact parallels in terms of athletic performance. They have exact parallels in terms of competitive, whatever, you're a chess person, right? Or you even play tennis recreationally, but with your competitive friends, wherever it manifests for you. So don't make the busy person do the work. If you're going to ask somebody for something, if you need a favor, if you need someone to network for you, or help you return a decision on a meeting, don't say, hey, I need a decision, or like, hey, do you like know anyone? You get to do the research beforehand, and you get to say, hey, person A, I noticed from LinkedIn, or I remember you saying that you know person B. I was hoping you could introduce us. I drafted you an intro email. If you want, obviously send your own, if you want. But I specifically am looking for advice on thing B, thing C, and thing D. And that helps people not drift you down in their to-do list until you fall off the bottom, right? Because if you're asking someone for a favor and they can get to it right away, presuming you've earned yourself goodwill with them, presuming you have some kind of ongoing, useful, nice relationship, they'll actually be really happy to do it. Like, one of the great things about the Valley that I never experienced necessarily in academia is that people love helping. It's insane. Like, people very much value the act of having introduced someone. They say, oh yes, I introduced this person to that person, and they know that as a credit. And more importantly, the person who was introduced says, oh yeah, I remember who introduced us to this and formed this useful relationship. So if you want anything from anyone, most people are really happy to oblige. They would love to help you. It's good for them. It's not pure altruism, but maybe it is. You can sort of philosophically argue about it. But the point is, you want it to be as easy as possible. Like, make yourself easy to be helped, right? And then this follows the rest. So, luck follows the prepared. So this is that every time you work 5 times harder on a meeting than you needed to, you will often find that you get to keep those results in your head for a bit, and you're much more on your game in conversations for the next few weeks. Like you kind of say, oh, well, actually this and that thread could be connected. And it's the connectors in the professional world that are really recognized as valuable. And this is a place where, as you are providing these connections, you're not doing it to be recognized as valuable. You're doing it to literally provide the value, right? The recognition doesn't matter. It's the providing value. And as you provide value in maybe different domains than you originally were located, great, that's your domain now. And so you kind of put yourself on this cycle of entering new places where you can discover that you can contribute value. And it's a much more rewarding kind of career path than the more reactive, like, oh, well, somebody asked me to do something, so I did it, and then I stopped. And it allows you to kind of drive yourself forward. The 10,000 hours rule may or may not be real. We may or may not be some kind of urban legend. It may have been completely debunked by actual science now, but it's a reasonable rule of thumb to imagine that with 10,000 hours of practice at something, you could basically be a world master at it. So with 10,000 hours of practice at scrolling Instagram, you're really good at it, but who cares? With 10,000 hours of practice at, the Six Sigma lean manufacturing, whatever, you're probably really good at it, and a lot of people care. So it depends kind of how you think about your time. Now let's find out if this was my last slide or not. Oh yeah, it was. Okay, so here's how I wanted to go out, which is this is a really important counterweight to some of the things I was saying. So I love it when people work hard. That's great. I never want people to work hard because they were instructed to work hard. Like I worry a lot about people who are sort of externally motivated, burning themselves out because they're told to do something and they're like, well, I'll just do more of it. So you need to keep your voices raised. You need to keep your knuckles bloody. You must always, if you see something that you don't think is valuable, you must have put yourself in a position where you can object, right? You need to be able to object constructively. Of course, you can't just say no, but you are in a position, or you want to put yourself in positions where you are doing valuable work. You are making valuable contributions. You are making real impact with your efforts. And if you feel that you are not doing those things, then you need to work either with your manager or with your team or whoever, and you need to tune your actions so that that's the case, because otherwise you're just spinning your wheels. Otherwise you're just burning yourself out for nothing. All this hard work has to be going somewhere. Otherwise it's this weird second gear, and you're just going to burn out. And so in order to kind of keep you on the path of upward and upward, you need to make sure that you have traction. And traction is what happens when you're actually doing work that matters. And I'd like to end there because that sort of seems like a natural pause point. But yeah, working on something that matters is how you'll get wherever you need to go. Can I just answer that directly? I had the chat open.
Yeah, you can.
Cool. Okay, so for everyone else, in what ways does this constructive objection present itself in day-to-day interactions? Yeah, super good question, and I cannot answer that for you. I can answer that for me. So for you, I would love for you to be in an environment where it wasn't a huge issue to present these constructive objections, right? If I'm in an environment at Forward in particular, where I see a kind of work as either brute force work, like we're just working harder to get something done, working hard rather than working smart, like, you know that phrase. If I see that, I am able to say exactly precisely that, and we sort of we very intentionally value this the radical transparency, where you're allowed to go and say, so the other line I wrote here, which is it is always about the policy. It's never about the people. You're never like, oh, Kate, you're a dummy. You're making me do this brute force work, right? It has to be, Kate, it seems like the situation has put us in a position, neutrally, us, we're working together, where I am doing a bunch of brute force work. I'd love to work to get myself out of it. I propose, and this is kind of how you can do it in this very action oriented, not blamey, not just like, I hate you, you're making me do work kind of way, but you come with a framework and you say, I observe that over the past this many weeks, I've spent this many hours doing this like pretty simplistic thing. I would like to make it so that we don't have to do that anymore. I would, if the ideal case is I'd like to propose that maybe you're not an engineer, I would like an engineer to help me automate this system. If that's not possible, I would like to propose that we get a contractor to do it. So maybe it's some sort of repetitive thing, but you shouldn't be doing it. And then in the third case, I will continue to do it. That's fine, but it will mean that I have to drop this, that, and that of my other responsibilities. Are you okay with that trade-off? And most people, the constructive objection, once you can frame it in terms of here are the ways that we could get ourselves out of it, the option is we don't get ourselves out of it, but here's the cost. That's a very neutral, and I find that a really high probability of actually getting what you want. You had to do a bunch of work to kind of present and frame that argument for sure, but the odds of success are really high. And so it comes down, it manifests in day-to-day interactions as very well thought out conversations with a pretty clear ask. I think when you find yourself saying, I have too much work, that's great. That's a really important realization, but you need to double click a little, and to the extent possible, you need to do it in a quantitative way, because only then could you know if it's actually getting better. Does that help? Awesome. But yeah, objecting constructively is actually, you can do this in the face of, oh, you have a bunch of grunt work as an individual, but you can also do this in the face of, you guys, I think we're not making a good business decision with X and Y and Z strategy. Like you get to, you should put yourself in a place where you get to say, I object to X, Y, and Z as a business strategy. If you find yourself in a place where X, Y, and Z are kind of imposed upon you as a business strategy, and you have no ability or room or agency or autonomy to say anything about it, like it's worth your time to consider how you might find somewhere else where you had more autonomy, because the drain, and I am speaking for myself here, but I do feel like it's pretty broadly true, the drain from just being sort of told what to do for no reason and never knowing why you're doing it, and then mysterious things getting told to you to either do or not do or do more of or stop doing, that I find that much more exhausting than I find what on an absolute scale is working much harder, but on things that I want. So that's sort of my framework. I'm okay if there's no more questions, by the way. I'm not sure if people are just shy. My email address is kate@goforward.com, and you can totally follow up afterwards. If you are a slow, not fast thinker like I am, I can never think of questions in the moment. So as I say, if you long-term dwell on it and realize there's anything that you want to chat about, my email box is open. I don't answer email like every day, but I answer as soon as I can. Oh yeah, sure. Good question. Can you elaborate more on the thing employers are looking for an entry-level engineer? It's hard to say. So this comes down to you again as well, and what you are being screened for in a resume process does also, if I'm going to infer from that that you are either aspiring to be an entry-level engineer or you currently are. What people are screening you for when you're submitting applications depends 100% on the company. In terms of the final point, but there are similarities, right? And the similarities are people want to see that you can commit to anything, right? So if this is your very first job and you had maybe 3 internships at the same place during your freshman, sophomore, junior years, and you're coming up now on your senior year and you're about to go into the job market, but you had, say, the same internship. Whoa, that would look really good, because that means that you both chose to come back, you had that attention span, and also that you had impressed your employer enough the previous summer that you were invited back. Whoa. That doesn't have to be it though, right? It could very well be, you know what, you are, does Fresno State have a Formula One team? Or sorry, not Formula One, what's it called? The thing where Formula SAE, that thing. Thanks, Rahul. So when you join that in your freshman year and you stay on that through senior year and you sort of took on roles of increasing scope and complexity during that whole time. So first you were just on one subsystem, and then you were kind of the leader for certain subsystems, and then you were kind of a much larger system. It shows depth, and this depth can be different. Like, I could be really impressed with a resume from an entry-level engineer, and I could be really impressed with a resume from a completely different entry-level engineer for entirely different reasons. Like, we hire new grads all the time and they don't look anything like each other, right? As the 2 examples I just gave for in terms of 3 consistent internships is one, and one of our really great recent hires was 4 consecutive years in Formula SAE, that is what it's called. And it also doesn't have to be that, right? For some people, it's, yep, I never actually did anything with school. I have been volunteering for this particular organization for however long. So what people are looking for is consistency, right? They want you to be worth training, right? So there is an onboarding cost. So when you look at a hire from an employer point of view, there is an onboarding cost. The entry-level engineer that comes is not useful on their first day, right? They cost time to train up and to teach all the processes and to teach all of the ways of the company and to teach all of the actual professional, like the vocational skills that you didn't necessarily learn in a college classroom. That is a cost that an employer is delighted to pay if the person sticks around. So the payoff for a new hire is negative for a while, and then goes and trends positive. And it's more and more positive the longer a person is there if they're good. And so what you want to show, the story that you're basically trying to tell with your resume is, I will be a cost sink for a shorter amount of time than you expect, and I will be a cost benefit for a longer amount of time than you expect. And so both sides of that coin are the narrative that you're trying to tell with your resume. I'm also happy to look at resumes, by the way, because your personal resume may be very good. I don't know, but a lot of people, it's not something that you can give universal advice about, because if I'm applying to a consulting company, I need a very, very different resume than if I'm applying to a startup, than if I'm applying to Intel or whatever, right? And so you can't have the same one. And if you have the same one, it explains a little why some of the people might not be calling you back, because their just expectations are different. And it could very well be that your content is exactly the same, but the presentation's different. And so there genuinely, truly are effects from kind of how you present yourself that feel, an engineer is like, oh, well, the work should speak for itself. And it's like, the work can only speak for itself once your audience is prepared to listen. And so you just have to make sure that you are speaking the language that the recruiter or the hiring manager or the resume screener is like prepared to understand, because your resume will get whatever the common wisdom is. It's something like between 4 and 11 seconds of attention. Yeah, you need to get over the fast thinking, the quick reflexes of the person that's going to be screening your resume. You need to present yourself as a person who they could already know how to deal with. It's too easy. And this is a thing. Look, I'm an engineer too. We collectively have this bad habit of believing, oh, again, the work speaks for itself. Like, oh, I'm smart. They should just be able to figure that out. Yep, they can't expect it. You can't do it. You need to speak in there needs to be some dimensions where you do conform, and there need to be other dimensions where you stand out. So the dimensions where you do conform need to just be the simple ones of how do you order things? What kind of information do they need to see first? And then the places where you can stand out can be your achievements. The places where you stand out can be, oh, look at this duration of time I did this. Look at this 343% cost reduction in X, Y, and Z manufacturing line, right? Those are the places you can stand out, but only once you have sort of templated yourself in to be able to, so that the resume screener is actually going to read your words and be ready to appreciate your achievements. I know that's a super long answer, but the reality is it's a bit of a nuanced position, because I understand the desire to just be like, I am me and they should just appreciate me. And I always feel the need to kind of justify why you are you, and that's great. And also we need to figure out how to make it so that the recruiter who is not you knows how to appreciate you. Cool.
Do we have any more questions? If you have any questions, list them in the chat, and then if not, then maybe we can conclude.
Cool. All right. Thank you all so much.
But yeah, okay. So thank you, Ms. Mercado, and congratulations on your outstanding professional career. And then thank you everyone for joining us for the informational and inspiring talk. Reminder, please tune into the next month's LCOE Tech Talks, because we will be having another inspiring speaker. So have a great day, everyone.